Welcome to Permission to Shine, the space where high-achieving women like you come to peel back the layers, overcome what's been holding you back, and rise into your most authentic, powerful self. I'm your host, Sherisse Bisram, inner power activation leader and intuitive healer, and a woman who knows what it means to look like she's thriving on the outside, also while feeling disconnected on the inside. This podcast is here to remind you, you didn't come here to just perform, you came here to lead with your soul. Your obstacles, they're invitations to expand. And your power, it was never outside of you. It's been waiting within you all along. Each week we'll dive into honest conversations, healing insight and soul-led strategies to help you stop self-sabotaging, reclaim your light and lead your life, your business and your relationships from deep-rooted truth. So if you're ready to rise with grace, softness and fire, you're in the right place. Let's get into it. Hey everyone, welcome back. And I'm really excited actually because I don't normally have many men on the show, as everyone knows. And I just ended up scrolling through my Instagram stories yesterday, and then Jack's story came up, and I was just creasing up because every entrepreneur or business person, in fact, probably any woman as well, knows the struggle when you have people just spamming your inbox back to back to back. And I was just creasing up at Jack's video, and I ended up dropping a few messages to him back and forth, and then I was like, do you know what, Jack seems like a really sound guy, and I feel like everything he's about, what he teaches, I feel like there's a lot of synergies with our work, and I just feel like it's going to be a really great conversation. So looking forward to just hearing Jack's story. And so here we are, everyone. This is Jack Tipper.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Yeah, this is a quick turnaround. Chatting yesterday and then jumping on this today. Efficiency, I like it. And yeah, I made myself chuckle with that the story I did with the Instagram DM guy. I just couldn't not share it. I thought I need to moan to someone about this. So I thought, yeah, lob it on. And then we got chatting, so the universe did its thing. And here we
Yeah.
are. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, 100%. So do you want to just kind of tell everyone who you are and what you do, and then we'll start working backwards to figure out how you got there?
Yeah, no, awesome. So yes, Jack Tipper is who I am. So I am a mindset coach for business owners and entrepreneurs. That's currently my business, and my program is typically with business owners, entrepreneurs, content creators. That's kind of who I'm working with now. And then yeah, I guess kind of what springs to mind is like the business coaching side of things. That was almost like a, a second life now, to be honest. I don't really remember my life before coaching and business and mindset, which I'm sure we'll get into. I know it sounds really cliche, but yeah, it was almost like a little chapter turn for me, I guess. I've been doing this now for about 4 years, 4 or 5 years, creating content, doing mindset stuff. And then yeah, the last couple of years I've really kind of ramped things up for myself and business and stuff. And now we're here. So that's me, and that's what I do for the last few years.
Yeah, amazing. And I'd love to know, I guess, I mean, I know why. I know
Yeah.
before speaking to you why mindset is the key thing here. But
Mm.
I mean, this may take you back as well. And you might end up wanting to share your full story, which is, absolutely wicked. But yeah, why particularly mindset when it comes to business and entrepreneurs?
There's kind of, I guess, like that question to me is almost split in two. I guess if I answer the full question first, and it will definitely then open up into the backstory, I guess. So, as you will know, any business owner, entrepreneur listening to this will know, my articulation of it is like business and growing a business, starting it, scaling it is like self-development on steroids. It's like the biggest self-worth, self-confidence, self-esteem, self-trust challenge is building a business. So when I got interested in coaching, studied it, launched the business, obviously then embark on that journey. Then I realized that it's not all about content and offers and selling and marketing. That's only, in my opinion anyway, a very, very small piece of the pie. And I, again, as any business owner would know, yourself included, there is an abundance, a million and one hurdles you will come up against, and more often than not, they are self challenges, self blockers, mindset blockers. So I don't want to use the word luckily, but just for ease, I'll use it. Luckily, having got into coaching with the background of mindset and mental health and stuff, I then doubled down on that, worked on me, and then business as a byproduct started to develop. So I kind of then put two and two together. And I really believe in it. I really believe that mindset and developing the self is all you need to really do to grow your business, make more money, and have an aligned life, really. So that's kind of how the mindset for business owners came about. I loved business and I loved knowing what it could do for me, for travel, for my relationship, for experiences, and the self-esteem that came with achieving certain things when it comes to business. That's how I kind of got hooked on it because it was naturally an interest of mine to grow the business. But mindset is obviously the thing that underpins all of that, and kind of how I got into it really was my own struggles, probably like most coaches. I think we kind of touched on that yesterday. It's kind of how we get into our own journey. Um, and that started with me just sharing and very much working backwards now. This is 2020, I think it was 2020, 2021. COVID, lockdown, really challenging time for a lot of people. I used it to the best of my abilities and kind of started all this. But I posted one story, I think it was December of 2021, or maybe 2020. The kind of years blur into one, to be honest. And I just shared a story talking about Christmas being a tough time for people, and here's how to navigate it. Here's some tips, da da da. And I'd only ever used Instagram for like, oh, here's me and the boys on a night out, or here's our little group pic in Portugal on a lad's holiday or whatever. So me doing that story was really obscure. It was my first time saying, hey, bit weird. I never do talking stories, but if you're struggling at Christmas, here's what I'd suggest. And it was hugely received. It was really well received by just my friends, my peers, people that like friend over friends. Great response, and a lot of people were struggling. A lot of people did have quote unquote mental health challenges they were going through. And then I just put one foot in front of the other and started making content on it, not for any gain other than just to help and spread the word. And yeah, one thing led to another, found coaching, and then business just popped up, and the last 4 years have been a blur. So that's kind of the last, I guess, 4 or 5 years. And it quite literally is just one little baby step in front of the other. And then to go back to your question, yeah, that's how mindset it, for me has been the main focus, and how I've then utilized that to help my business grow. And then the business has changed my life. And it's then just that repeatable recycling process of that, I guess. So, and here we are.
Yeah, amazing. It's so interesting, actually. A lot of your journey, I have a similar kind of way that mine fell into place as well,
Mm,
because in the whole business part of it.
mm,
But it's so funny because every single entrepreneur I speak to, it's like going through and starting a business and putting yourself in this really vulnerable position
mm,
is like a spiritual, like energetic portal that you go through that you just
mhm,
can't explain to anyone that's not in it. And I mean, I'm sure you've heard of Brene Brown, which talks about like being in the arena. And it's
mm,
only if you're in the arena that you really understand the level of like self-awareness, self-trust, self-compassion that you need to have within every cell of your being. Because if you don't, it is stripped bare from you. And I think
mm,
for me, like being a dancer as well, I've always been putting myself in these vulnerable situations where I was literally up like for a lamb in slaughter, going to auditions, they judge your body, they judge the way that you move, like skin tone, everything was
mm,
up for, yeah, criticism. And so I think when I entered the business space, I'd had this like natural resilience that I'd developed through like my childhood experiences, then in the dance industry, then
mm,
coming into this space. I feel like I was so thick-skinned that supported me on one hand, but then on the other hand, I think yeah, falling back into understanding that it's the internal parts as well. So I think that, a lot of my work, I talk about the armor that we wear in order to like get through certain things. And what's really beautiful about how you spoke about your journey is that, hearing it from a male perspective is great. And that's really why I wanted you to be on the show, because I feel like we always hear it from a feminine perspective, especially on my podcast, but
mm,
more so, I think men just talking about their feelings and the openness. And I feel like in that moment on your story, you kind of gave all of your friends that were struggling permission to like allow this to be normal. And I think so many of us, especially men, I know for sure, don't talk about their feelings because they're trying to just push through, pretend everything's okay. And actually, what you did was open the door to say, things might be a bit shit right now. Like, here's how, I would suggest moving through it. And really, that's kind of what I did in the lockdown, because I think up until that point, I'd just been going 100 miles an hour, professional dancer. It was the year that I got really massive dance jobs. And I just realized in that 2019 year that it felt empty. And I was like on the set for like Marvel and thinking, wow, like this is everything I dreamed of. And I can't wait to go home.
Mm,
Like, and they had an extra day of filming, and I was the only one out of the whole cast that couldn't do it because I'd had plans to go to Dublin for my friend's 30th, and I
mm,
refused to not go to that thing that I committed to with my friends. And I thought, this is the job of a lifetime. And I'm like,
mm.
sorry, guys, I'm gonna go out with my friend. Do you know what I
I'm
mean?
out.
For me, that was in that moment where I realized, okay, something integrity wise is turning, like, because an old version of me would be like, no, no, I'm going to take the job. Whereas something was shifting at that point there. And I think everything came crumbling down for me. Obviously, my career, I was meant to move to LA and that didn't happen. So I started to then work backwards to be like, well, why is this happening? And it was only my aunt, who's a foster carer, said to me, you've spent your whole life being strong, that, now you're in a position where you can't control the external and things like that. And someone else is presenting themselves vulnerably, like I ended up seeing someone and, it didn't go the way I wanted it to. And then they had a vulnerable conversation with me and I was like, oh, this is disgusting vulnerability. And then,
Mm.
well, this is why, because you need to look at this for yourself. So I then started to share content around my journey myself. So I really resonate with that. And I think that it's the most organic way, I think, for people to see, know, like, and trust you, right? Because then
Mhm.
you're being honest with how you're feeling, what you're moving through. And so, yeah, the trust is built. And I think that's something that we're probably missing in the industry a little bit more so now. So I feel
Mhm.
like the fact that you started from that space, and like I said to you, like I read obviously energy and people. And from the sort of instant we started chatting, I was like, no, that you are definitely in this for the right reasons. There's no like smoke and mirrors here. I can feel the intention behind what it is you're doing. So yeah, I'd love to know a little bit more about kind of maybe your journey as a man up until that point, and then kind of how that's all supported your business as well.
Yeah, for sure. I think um, one thing that I noticed throughout my journey of sharing the mental health content, that what I was doing, I was just sharing my experiences and my, I guess, quote unquote wisdom, my unexperienced wisdom was like like what you referenced, the connection. The vulnerability is the gateway for connection and that relevant understanding of, oh, I've been through that too. I'm struggling this too, da da da. And I think as a man, like there is the whole, okay, now we've been doing it for years now. We've been doing the whole let's remove the stigma for years now. But I'd still believe there is such a almost subconscious or unconscious stigma now between most guys that, yeah, cool, I'll share my vulnerabilities and they'll be able to say it, but still they won't make me look very good or they won't make me look very strong or da da da. And that's something that, maybe not right now in terms of like a business, so to speak, but it's definitely something that I would love to get more involved with or create something, who knows, but I think that's still something that resonates massively with me. And I have found this is not the first conversation I've had where it's, yeah, Jack, what you're doing is great because you're a man in this industry, but and it feels great to hear that, and it's almost like the work is definitely not done, with being able to have more conversations about things. I think my current relationship has been a fantastic, I guess, beacon, or maybe how to word it, a confirmation of vulnerability and self-expression and emotional understanding, emotional awareness, emotional regulation is attractive. And it is strong and it is powerful and it actually is brave to be able to have that. And it makes things way more well-rounded. So that's just a few thoughts I have on the topic of it. But going back to your question, I guess more specifically, um, I personally believe that my kind of journey throughout coaching from like the masculine and the feminine side of things has made me such a more well-rounded individual, with being able to understand how I feel, articulate that, track how I feel, not let my emotions dictate my actions and behaviors, which as a byproduct has, you know, allowed me to have a fantastic relationship, to grow the business, to have better conversations like this and understanding how I feel. And I almost, it's almost like a matrix. Like now that I've stepped out of the matrix or into a new one, however you want to class it, I genuinely don't know how, like, I'm trying to think of a way to word it. Everyone needs to work on it. Everyone needs to understand how they feel. I mean, especially guys, because I feel like it is most of the time anyway. I'm not going to like do a cookie cutter or blank policy statement of like women are better at it. But typically, what I've noticed with clients and having conversations with people that it is harder for most men to understand how they feel, articulate it, communicate it, and it does have downsides to it. So I now look back at my journey of struggling with anxiety, feeling low, having that sustained period of quote unquote mild depression, whatever you want to call it, whatever label we want to put on it. Thank God. Honestly, thank God that I went through that because now I know what I'm trying to work to avoid, what I'm not running away from, just gravitating away from and creating an elongated period of feeling better about myself and better about things because that was just such a shit period of time. So I now know what I am trying to avoid, and it's a huge passion of me to try and help other people do. And that's where it all started from. Wanting people just to know that you can do more, be more, feel better, etc., etc. Um, Man or woman, that doesn't matter to me. But of course, I've got that natural pull. If a guy is struggling with certain things, I've got that natural resonance, if that's the word. Like it just resonates with me so much more. I don't know if I answered the question specifically. I probably went off on a few tangents there, but yeah, it has definitely been an enlightening journey with working with people and understanding emotions, and then it just bounces straight back on me, and I learn a few things along the way, spiritually, emotionally, getting in touch with the feminine. So many amazing things have happened since that. So it's almost like me trying to scream from the rooftops, like we can all feel better if we like work on these things. So yeah, and as a man, that stands out to me massively. Knowing how I felt before compared to how I see things now is wildly different. If any of that made any sense.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I feel like I think this is the beauty of the podcast. Like it is raw conversation, so it's just literally what our heart needs to share at that moment. So and I
Mm,
love that. And I was nodding along for a lot of what you were saying there because I really relate to that. And I think, what I feel like as well, like you kind of spoke about so clearly in your own life is just making better choices that support who you're becoming. Like instead of going back to the default thing, like I know you mentioned that going out with the lads and things like that was something you were doing when you were younger, like all of us did, right? I mean, I was out with my girl mates all the time and things like that. I mean, I've never really been much of a drinker because my dad was an alcoholic and then he passed away from that. And like just in my family are notorious, they're Caribbean, so drinking is a big part of the culture. So
mm,
I've never been that person, but it is heavily embedded in, growing up, especially like we said at the beginning, we're millennials. So
mm,
that going out on a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, whatever day it was, you were out all the time. And then I feel like that mentality bred depression because again, we're trying to fit into the herd. And
mhm,
then you mix that with hustle culture, which is you've got to work hard, you've got to grind, you've got to push. You're then like met on two different ends of like the magnet, right? And then you're pushing and pulling so much that you're creating inner resistance. And I think, what it sounds like for me and for you, for sure, is that there's a strong inner compass. So like when something wasn't right, there was a something in you that said, right, let's pull back now. We need to do this instead. Or, and that only gets stronger when you start to trust yourself and make those choices that support you. And like you were saying, it's small. It starts small, right? We're
mm,
just building that up every time. But also what I loved, and I was going to ask you about this anyway, is just hearing how much of a priority your relationship is and how much you value that. That is so refreshing to hear because I feel like, I mean, obviously on the podcast, when I've had men on, they've always spoke really highly of their partners, but I feel like it's something that's so important that's missing from today's, I would say, single culture, but also that male culture. Because, like I said at the beginning, when you were saying about the getting all the stalking messages and all the things,
mm, mm,
women's DMs are like that with
mm,
wrong types of guys that aren't valuing relationships. And so I'm really glad that you bring that up because as you said, like that's been a part of your growth and experience. And I think a lot of people are just in this fast-paced thing, aren't they, right now, where they
mm,
want a quick result, they want the answer, they want the marriage and the kids, they want to jump to that part, not
mm,
realizing they have to keep regulating, keep checking back in, keep coming
mm.
back to their partner, keep asking those hard, difficult questions, because that's the only way that they grow. And I feel like that was a really nice touch point on that. So I'd love for you to explain more about that side of things as well. And then also on that, I feel like a lot of what you shared anyway, is what I'd love to know what that moment was when you gave yourself the permission to shine, because I feel like this is all sort of correlating together.
I think, yeah, remind me on that second one because I'll definitely go off on a tangent here about the relationship side of things. Yeah, so I think one, being in the social media space, mindset, coaching space, we naturally consume a lot of content, right? And there's quotes, phrases, wisdoms, little seeds that you come accustomed to hearing these things. And I think sometimes we can get what's the word I'm looking for? Like used to it. We can get numb to it almost, like we've heard that before, da da da. But one thing that's always stuck with me is hearing the piece of wisdom of I can't remember word for word, something along the lines of the most important decision you'll make is the person that you choose to spend the rest of your life with because it then underpins everything else. And yeah, the relationship I'm in now, we're getting married later this year, and it's like you strip my business away, take away clients, take away income, take away a roof over my head, don't care. Just let me keep that. And I know that that's my pillar. That's my thing that I always bounce off of because it's the support, it's the prioritization. And I think now kind of matching this up towards, business, I've learned so much and developed so much about myself and within myself from this relationship coming from, I mean, I'm not going to badmouth my last relationship at all, but that was the catalyst, the ending of that relationship that started everything here. So I then worked towards this being, something I'm super proud of, and I will always prioritize it. And it's again allowed me to work on myself. It showed me my shortcomings. It's taught me a lot about communication, human behavior, connection, um, having the uncomfortable conversation, putting someone else first, doing more so they can do less, which is just so many life lessons, I guess, that then transcend into business, which has showed me a lot. Um, so yeah, for me, it's the biggest priority to maintain and prioritize that, which allows me to be selfless, which I think I love. I love, I always say it when she's not feeling very well, and I'm like, I don't like the fact that you're not well right now, but I kind of love it because I'll nip to the shops, I'll do this, I'll do that. It allows me to serve, which I think is a great energy to work from. So yeah, it's definitely taught me a lot. And going back to your point about how, a lot of guys are now with the messaging and dating culture and drinking culture, I pride myself on trying to be that guy, him, that person, that people can look up to or take reference points from. I hope that doesn't come across any like egotistical, but I just want it to be, I'd love to be a role model when we have kids to look up to and always prioritize it. So it's super important to me, if you hadn't guessed for the last couple of minutes of articulation. And yeah, I think going back to your other question of like when was the time I gave myself permission to shine, I don't strictly know whether it was to do with relationship, but it's definitely something in there. I mean, what comes up for me whilst I talk now, which may not be a direct answer to this question, but it's like I now have like I don't want to say purpose, for lack of a better word, mission, something bigger than me to provide for. I want to be able to take us around the world to Australia to meet up with friends that are over there. I want to be able to do these surprises. I want to be able to remove any element of worry and doubt. So I think having such a special relationship, in my opinion, actually helps me stay hungry and helps me stay focused. And actually, I give myself a slap on the wrist if I am scrolling too much on my phone and I don't do, dinner on time when I said I was going to do it, da da da. So many like reasons to actually push. But I think not to kind of change subject because it's probably linked, like you mentioned. Maybe it's not obvious to me right this second, but the moment I gave myself permission to shine and be that person. I mean, my coaching program is called Limitless. And that's what I want for myself. I don't want to have any limits. And I think it's when I set myself financial goals in business that a lot of people think are smoke and mirrors. They just think, oh, you can't hit the 5K, the 10K cash months and all this stuff that we get sold dreams off of the endless business coaches that are out there. But no, this is not about money. But when I did hit those goals and I looked back at old Jack and the journal pages that I left for myself the years prior, it's when I was like, oh shit, like this, you can actually really achieve the things you set out to do, whether it is a financial goal or whether it is traveling to Bali in Thailand, whether it is doing this a public speaking event or hosting your own event, I think it's achieving certain goals and recognizing that there was an old version of you that seriously doubted you could do that. And I don't think there was one specific moment that stands out to me that I gave myself permission to shine. I think it was this like almost like a video game, and I'm like a character kind of leveling up, going through these levels. And there's been so many of them that I've just constantly like banked that information, and I've banked this one, and I've banked this one. And it's when you have those moments of doubt, fear, worry, you go back to those little video game levels and you look back and think, right, what have I banked up here? Oh my God, I used to be this anxious, worried, insecure guy who needed validation from relationships to feel good. And if I wasn't talking to a girl or swiping through the dating apps or, whatever, I'd make people laugh to feel good about myself. And now look at that guy and I think, Jesus Christ, this is a 2.0 me, 100%. That's why I feel like I can, in your words, shine and I can feel empowered to do these things. And again, I use the word matrix here. Now that I'm in or out of the matrix of this limited version of me, it is the most freeing, empowering, I could list a load of words off now, like feeling to have achieved certain things that old me would have doubted or worried about. And then being able to teach that and help other people with it, it's like, I feel like I've cracked it. Like the Japanese concept of ikigai, right? I'm feeling fulfilled. Like I feel like I've cracked it, which is great. So, and I built all this, so there's the self-esteem coming in, right? But I don't know if that was a roundabout way of answering your question, but there are some moments for me that, I had stopped and smelt the roses,
Yeah.
which has felt very freeing, and it's a nice energy to harness going forward to this day still.
Yeah. Oh, you're a wicked guy, Jack. I'm listening to what you're saying, and I'm like, that is it. That is it. And it's so beautiful because I think that, we see like certain men, especially
Mm,
like for women, and a lot of my listeners struggle with relationships. So I have
mm,
a lot of relationship experts come on and we talk about that type of thing, whether it be that they're in a relationship or they're not. That's always something that comes up. So to
mm,
actually hear your story and hear how much you value your relationship, how much it shaped you as a person, how much it's making you make better choices as a byproduct of it, that is all like divine masculine energy, and you are
mm.
the embodiment of it. So it's really lovely to witness that in you and just feel your truth from it. So I just want to give you that because I feel like that is just, yeah, everything there. And when you said about the journals and like looking back, that's something that I did as well, and it's really interesting because I feel like in my business, I think I got caught up a little bit when I first started, thinking that it needed to be financial goals to hit and things like that. And then when I set like really ridiculous goals and then didn't quite meet them, I was thinking, oh gosh, this is crap. Like I've not done. I joined business after that pandemic rush. Like everyone, like people that I know in business are like, oh, if you started then, you would have rose with it, and then you'd have built that and all of the things. So you hear it all, right? And so I started in 2023. And that was when I first got my first business mentor. So prior to that, I didn't know anything about business, like nothing. I was a dancer, right? So yeah, I feel like the financial goals I set because I saw them from other coaches were unrealistic. And then I was start to feel like disappointed in myself. And I was like, oh gosh, this is not maybe not what I'm supposed to be doing or whatever. But then when I look back on those journals, I was like, oh my gosh, no, the biggest thing for me was the fact that I am now the embodiment of everything I was searching for my whole life.
Mm.
And in fact, if that version of me had met the version of me that I am now, she would be absolutely like blown away. And I think even more than that, if I trace it back to my childhood version of me and like all of the big dreams and goals I set as being a dancer and all of those things, but even like my internal world and what I was dealing with in my childhood. I was never supposed to get to this lifetime. I was never supposed to be this version of me. It was supposed to be like an alcoholic or in an abusive relationship or, have like 7 kids with 5 men. Do you know what I mean? There's all these different variations of like generational things that have been sort of placed before me that I now get to stand in. And I think, wow, actually, this moment right now is something I could never comprehend as a younger version of me. And I think that's so powerful, isn't it? To just, be here in yourself and be that happy. And like you said, feel that limitlessness of like what is possible for you and what you can create. And I know from here, where I now feel for myself. And exactly what you said about the ikigai, I spoke about that in a couple of podcasts before, and I always come back to it. I feel like that really is it. You know, this has been something that's been so natural for me my whole life. I was always the person that everyone went to for advice, for wisdom, and all the things that now I embody that. And it's not a performance anymore. I'm not pretending to be confident. It generally is for every cell of my being that for me is what success looks and feels like. And I think that it's really lovely to hear that in everything you're doing, but to have the tangible results that you set for yourself too, Met, like that's even better, right? And I think as men, there's almost that like that is a priority, isn't it? You know, like I remember reading Steve Harvey, I think it is, and it's like Think Like a Man or something like that, one of his books. I'm trying to look to see if I've got it on my shelf still, but he talks about how um a man, in order to feel like he matters in the world, needs to have like know what he does and knows what he stands for, like the two key components. And if he doesn't have that, he's not ready for a relationship. So I feel like everything you've spoken about today is literally the embodiment of those things that Steve Harvey was talking about. So if you ever meet him, just tell him, just like, hey,
I'll let them know.
yeah,
Cheers,
that's
bud.
exactly it. But also as well, an important thing that you said there as well, like how you are banking um
Mm.
the reminders. Like that's such a powerful thing that I talk about a lot as well, is like that memory bank or a case study of all the times it went right, all the times it worked. Because, you know, for me, I lived in this trauma survival state for like 28 years of my life. So this new kind of way and frequency that I live in now only has 6 or 7 years of experience. So it's so easy to default back to the pattern unless you have enough evidence to show you that what you do want is possible and there and available for you. So yeah, I loved everything you shared there. So let's go into who you help, how you help them, and what that looks like, especially for, like, say, the women that listen are, you know, strong-willed women that are determined to, you know, succeed in whatever area of their life, whether it's business, whether it's like just life in general, whether it's with their kids, you know, like, yeah, anything like that. I mean, a lot of the women I know that I do speak to have, if they haven't got a business already, it's something they're thinking about. So, yeah, I feel like that could probably relate and be quite helpful.
Yeah, of course. So, first and foremost, business owners, entrepreneurs, people working kind of high up in a company have a lot of responsibility, but they're hungry as well. They're, um, purpose driven, ambitious. They're kind of people that want more for many different reasons. So that's the kind of person or avatar demographic, whatever you want to class. That's the type of person that I currently help and have helped recently and will look to help in the future. And what we ultimately look to do is because different people have different goals for different reasons. um and if I had only 30 seconds or 20 seconds to do an elevator pitch of like what results we help people get, it is in essence grow the business, but because it can then have so many downstream benefits for them and their lives. And like I said, whether it's making money to travel and then get to the end of your life and think, thank God I traveled, but that was because of the business and the money that you made. Or maybe it was to actually feel confident that you can work less and make more money so that you can spend time with your partner or your kids. So there's so many different reasons as to why people want to make relevant changes. Um, and how we do that is the deep subconscious necessary work. This is not just me sitting here for an hour in front of someone motivating them to work. It's not me looking at someone's day-to-day routine and making habit and routine adjustments so they feel better about themselves and giving them a few journal prompts. Yeah, that stuff happens, but this is, as you probably will know, it's the inner child work. It's the timeline therapy, looking back. It's releasing from previous, we could class it as traumas or just the things that have happened to people that have got them believing things about themselves. And that's what we do. It's removing limiting beliefs. It's making people feel limitless. It's setting big, scary goals, or as I like to call it, the unknown. So that's like phase one in our 4-phase process of set the unknown, set a big, scary goal, set something you've never achieved before, something that scares you, something that you feel pulled to achieve, but previous you has been pulling back from it. So setting the unknown is always the first thing we look to do with people when they jump into the program. And then we roll up our sleeves and get to work. And it's honestly some of the most rewarding, hours of my life is actually removing some of these limitations and blocks that people have had on them since they were 6 or 7, or for the last 10 years in business, they've not felt so good. And then we remove that and then they become limitless. They make double their income, or they go to events, they get invited out to events in Lisbon or Barcelona, they host their own events. And there's so many different wins that we've had. And it's incredibly, going back to my word of like freeing again, it's so freeing to see that. Um, so yeah, that's the kind of people we help at the moment. Through so, and the beauty of this, and this is what I love, through so many different businesses. Like I say it's a solo thing. It's just me at the moment, but I like saying we. Um, we've had so many coaches to start off with, as I was a coach, but then I started noticing that, okay, social media manager wants to work with me because they're feeling a little bit of imposter syndrome about the content they create. Okay, cool. And then we've had nutrition coach coming in. Okay, I've never worked with nutrition before. Then we've had more content creators coming in. Then we've also got ex bodybuilders that have signed up recently who are looking to grow their business, but also find out what their ikigai is now that they're not doing bodybuilding anymore, for example. So many different types of people that have one universal thing in common. They want to work on the self, and they've started to realize that now. And that's again my argument that a lot of business, marketing, strategy coaches or consultants will disagree with, and that's fine. That you cannot, in my opinion, you cannot build a strategy on an identity that rejects it. We work with the subconscious, and I think a big part of my job from the coaching and also the content side of things is to educate people on we all are driven by our subconscious operating system. And a lot of people don't know that that's the reason why they are being limited because they don't believe they can achieve it. They tell me they do. If I'm in a consultation with someone, they'll say, 10 out of 10, I believe I can hit the 10K months, 15K months. And then I'll give them a second. And then they'll say, but, and then they'll start talking about those limitations they have, the little voice on their shoulder that's like, we can't achieve this. So that's what we work with. We work with these deep fears of failure, the fear of judgment, the imposter syndromes, in essence, they don't necessarily believe they can achieve it. So they'll just run away, procrastinate, stuff like that. So they're the kind of problems we're looking to solve right now. Procrastination, the hesitation, the putting on a mask and being inauthentic with their content and stuff like that. So yeah, coming back to your question, that's kind of who we help. That's how we help, and then the results that they get is, of course, monetary. It's more clients, more aligned clients, but the hidden wins, the hidden wins that I love hearing is, Jack, I've just thought about this idea and I've already launched it. I'm doing the event in a couple of months. Or I woke up this morning and I kind of decided to do a bit of yoga instead of jumping straight on the laptop because I feel like I have to work in order to feel successful. They're the little hidden wins that I love, which comes back to the emotional side of things. It's not the Ferrari someone wants, it's the feeling the Ferrari gives them when they drive it. And it comes back to, why do you want the money? It's going to make you feel good. Oh, cool. Let's make you feel good anyway, right? So it's those little wins that I love hearing about, not just got a new client or I've made more money. It's how do you feel on the day to day? Are you enjoying your life? Yeah, great. That's even better than another £1,000 on your Stripe account. Do you know what I mean? So it's so many of these little wins that I love to help people get, and that's the who, that's the what, and that's the why, I guess, wraps up.
Absolutely. No, I love that. Thank you. And it's so funny because I'm nodding along as you're speaking because, yeah, that's really the core of my work. And I think what I've noticed is I've never spoken about businesses or business owners. I mean, I tend to typically get those types of women in my space, but that's not the core of what I'm doing. So I'm not here to make their business better. I'm here to do the work that you're talking about, the inner underneath work. And I think, when you were saying about the mask thing, I was like, yes, because this is a thing that I think that I'm seeing so much of at the moment that makes me scream from the inside. I'm like, why are you pretending? And then
Yeah,
another thing that actually really grates me at the moment as well is when people think they're being vulnerable, but they're not. So it's that tactical vulnerability. And I'm like, there's such a difference between the two. And I think for me, my line that I'm talking about at the moment is like, I've always said that really all we ever want is to be seen, heard, and understood.
Mm.
But the next level of that for me now is to be felt, to be like truly felt by someone when they're sharing something. And yeah, you're in the room with someone. And I think for me as well, speaking, doing a lot of speaking things, that's something that's always come forward for me is that, I've always made people feel safe, or they've always walked away with something tangible, and that knowing that they mean something in this world, this deep layering that you're talking about there, and how it all comes from those childhood experiences. Like we said, I went my whole life, like I said, to 28, not knowing that I was living with severe childhood trauma.
Mm.
I thought it was normal. I thought that everyone lost 11 members of their family when they were between the ages of 12 to 17, and everyone was just dealing with it, and actually, when I got to, and throughout my life, I've shared my story as well, but never connected to it. It was always like I was telling people yeah, a story about someone else. My emotions weren't embedded in it because I disassociated through survival. So, yeah, there was so much about, I guess, me feeling my feelings again. And that's why I think the word felt become so important to me because, again, we can go through all of the motions, like we could tell our story, we can share these experiences, but if we're not feeling the experience of truly living and embodying that, no one else is going to feel it or share it. And I feel like that's why I feel like as well, I was drawn to our conversation because I could feel in the way that you were sharing just how, just our normal chit chat. I was like, oh, no, no, this person's in it for the real reasons. And I think that in itself, that embodiment of like everything that you are, I could feel it through the screen. Do you know what I mean? So it's just it's impact and for the right reasons and the right intentions. And I'm really happy that you're doing this and that people can find you and come to you for this because I just think that the more people in this world that are here for true intention of really supporting humanity and business and all of these things, that is really what this shift is all about. Like I know I talk about spirituality and astrology a lot, but we're in the age of Aquarius now, and Aquarius is all about for the people, by the people. So more than ever, people are searching for that, like you said, connection to themselves, but people that are really doing that too. And that we're called to be the leaders this next part. It's like they're going to stop turning to influencers on the internet. They're going to start turning to people that have made them feel something, or they know that they've been through something similar. It's like the smoke and mirrors is going to die out and the truth is going to come through. And so, yeah, it's lovely to be in the energy of people that are really living it. So, yeah, celebrating you.
Yeah, I appreciate you. I think the connection, authenticity, that's so important. You said earlier about like the trust in the industry has naturally gone down, and I just think with the development of AI, advertising, more content, virality, if that's the best way to pronounce it, like all these things, don't get me wrong, they're not bad. In coaching, as you know, there's no good or bad. It's either serving or serving. So they do serve a purpose, right? It's fine. But I just think with the growth of all of that stuff, which has had so many upsides, has unfortunately now created, and I've heard it being coined this, like the trust recession, which I think has been challenging for especially new coaches, consultants, anyone trying to build a business through socials as their main leverage with marketing. Um, I speak a lot about authority. Obviously, we want to help people grow their business, right? This is kind of what the main tangible outcome we help people do. And we've spoke about it in trainings and group calls, even one-to-ones about authority. And I think a big part of authority that people don't uh, know, I guess, is connection. You
Mm.
need to feel connected to someone in order to feel they are an authority, or for you to be an authority over someone to help lead, lay the breadcrumbs out and let them follow. And it is connection. And the best calls I have with people, whether it's, we've done a group call last night in the program, and the shares that were coming through, the questions that we're having, and the vulnerabilities that were being shown created this nice little connect. There was only six of us in the call, but it was just so connected. It was people bouncing off of each other's ideas. I had it with the in-person events that we'd done a couple of those last year, the back end of last year, and that was great. Just me sitting back and letting the guys talk over the table, ignoring the PowerPoint that I'd put together and be like, "Man, you guys just talk. This is great. This is the connection that we want." And I feel like that is overlooked. So having these kind of conversations, being connected, sharing vulnerabilities, knowing that that is what can connect us, especially in coaching, it's such a nice thing. I think nice and simple, which is really, really nice. And then that can be utilized to help you grow what you want to grow and connect with more people and spread the word. So I think it's super important to have the vulnerability, the connection, the authenticity, the truth, and just have really good conversations with people. I mean, it's a good way to spend your time, even just as simple as that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And you know what's really amazing as well, hearing how your business model works and things like that, is that I think traditionally in business it's been like a pyramid or a triangle, hasn't it, of like how
Mm,
work. And like what I talk about all the time is like the patriarchy is a triangle, but the matriarchy is a circle. And what you're explaining about how you work is you are creating that circle. So without you even realizing it, you're
mm,
in this divine feminine kind of balance of like how you're creating things. So yeah, it's really lovely to hear that you are, yeah, just adding all these elements in from a place of just deep knowing and remembrance. I think that that's
mm,
just a really nice thing, because I don't know what your beliefs are about spirituality and like reincarnation and things like that, but I just believe that our soul's done this journey a few times, to build up the trust and the lessons and things like that. Like, I'm sure, I mean, I feel like when you're speaking, you're a lot wiser for your age, and I'm sure you've had that your whole life. And so for me, I feel like there's something like in a past life that's led you here to all these journeys, and I'm super woo, so I'm gonna add that in there.
So I like it. I'll ponder on it. I'll see what comes. I'll journal on it later, see what comes up,
Yeah,
see
do,
who I
and let me
was.
know. Yeah, let me know, because yeah, that's a really big part of yeah, my work as well, is us knowing that, because I think a lot of people, but obviously I deal with women, they've had experience that have happened not even in this lifetime, that they're carrying the
Mm,
reverberance for, like that wounded energy or that victim mentality. And again, it's something that comes from before us, right? So yeah, just really, really interesting things. Okay, so amazing. Loved everything we spoke about. And I feel like we could go on for hours about just random things, because there's so many little bits and bobs that we can chat about, which is really amazing. But I feel like for anyone that's right now listening and loving what you're saying, where can they find you? How can they find you? What is available for them right now?
Yeah, so Instagram is my main jam that I kind of, it's a space where I can talk to people and I have, well, you experienced it yesterday, right? That's why we're here. I love having conversations on there. It's a big part of like what I do each day, to be honest, is like just talking to new people, which I love. So yeah, Instagram is my main thing. So my at is Jack Tipper underscore coach, I think it is. So yeah, connect with me if you've got any questions and stuff. So in terms of what is available to people, so one-to-one coaching is kind of what I do. It's very bespoke. It's no, I used to let people in to the group and they can come along to the calls and they can go through school and watch some of the curriculums we put together. I don't allow that anymore until someone's gone through one-to-one coaching, purely for the fact that it's, as you know, the most bespoke thing that you can do is work on someone's thoughts, feelings, and life experiences, wrapped up in mindset. So we've got a few things coming out. I was pondering on it today, and I think my Christmas break was a very much a break. I had 2 weeks off of just nothing. I think I got a bit too used to that. The first week back was tricky trying to wake up before like 9 a.m. But I've come back, yeah, with some fresh ideas, making things a bit more structured and routine, a bit more masculine, to allow for feminine creativity and flow, which is so advantageous from a business standpoint and fun and exciting, which is a big part of our ethos, I guess, of what I want to help people create. So, yeah, what is available? First and foremost, a conversation with me. I think that's always going to be productive or interesting nonetheless. And yeah, if anyone is interested, we do have a couple spots right now, but I'm not going to turn this into a pitch. But yeah, the mindset coaching for business owners to grow is what I do and is my jam, and it's going well. And we're only looking to blow things up this year and really, really move things and have some more fun. So yeah, that is what is available, and that's what I do, and that's where people can find me if they want a good conversation first and foremost.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you. I'll pop your Instagram in the link as well in the description, so everyone can find you just from
Awesome.
listening. So that'll all be there. Yeah, it sounds really good. I'm glad that we connected and had this conversation, because I always get people ask me as well, especially men, 'cause obviously I don't work with men. They're like, "Who do you recommend?" And I'm like, "Oh, I
Mm.
have to go through." And I've got another person that I do you know Washington?
Washington. No.
Need to connect. I'm going to connect you two, because you two will have good vibes. Washington,
Nice.
absolute vibe. So I point people over to Washington, but obviously now I have
Nice.
you as well. So that's really nice, and it's good
Appreciate it.
that, yeah, that space there. But yeah, from everything that you shared today, and or obviously just like a message that's on your heart right now, what would be your soul to soul message for the listeners?
Yeah, I think, if I have this, I have like these thoughts like this sometimes, like if everyone like could tune into a phone call and I would just ring everyone in one go, like, what would I say? So like, this is not the first time I've pondered on this, but I think Again, I named my program Limitless for a reason, and it's because once you recognize that and this is removing any element of cliche here, not quoting, not motivational, very simply, once you believe you can quite literally achieve anything that you have a pull to do, you become, I don't want to say limitless because that really sounds cliche, but you become free and become excited. So just know, and this is me planting a seed in everyone's like ears and head right now, is that the only reason you're not where you want to be yet, financially, romantically, business-wise, spiritually, emotionally, whatever you want to, is the beliefs that you have around yourself, and a belief can change. Period. That's it. And once someone understands, agrees, and accepts that, game's on. Like you're good to go. So yeah, I guess wrapped up in a sentence is, yeah, you just sort your beliefs out, then you can get after what you want, whether it's love, money, more time, less stress, better health, da da da. Just go after it because I'm gonna die one day, so I don't want to die with any regrets. So I think that's kind of a bit of a wake up call for people to stop holding themselves back and push. And if you need help, message me. If not, just let that seed be watered and go after what you want. That would be my
Mm.
60-second elevator pitch to help someone with some tipper's wisdom this afternoon.
No, absolutely that. And I love that. And I think that for me was like one of my realizations, obviously losing a lot of people at a really young age.
Mm.
I realized that life was never promised. And so I
Hmm.
just thought it's better to go all in and at least you could say you tried rather than
Hmm.
never know. And I feel
Hmm.
like that is, yeah, absolutely the reason why I'm all in for my dreams and goals and all the things. And
Agreed.
every time you say limitless, I imagine this like catching, like a 90s like fist catch. I'm like, yes,
Mm.
limitless. Like I feel like that needs to be a video for you. I'm just plugging it in as the
Yeah.
choreographer. I'm like, please just do one.
I love it. That's when my creativity for like movement or whatever is just not there. So you're just like filling up that other half of where I'm
Yeah,
just
I'll
like, yeah, I
choreograph.
can't envision it. Yeah.
Oh, thank you so much for joining me.
I appreciate you. Thank you so much for your time. This has been a good conversation. I hope it's been helpful or interesting. So I appreciate you.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode. Please do like, follow, and share with a woman that you know would really truly benefit from listening to these words. And as always, if you have a guest in mind that you would love to be featured on the show, let me know. And I love hearing your feedback. So feel free to drop me a DM, whether that's just to have a conversation or to let me know that you enjoyed the episode. Now, I'm really excited to share with you that on the 22nd of January, my special numbers are 22, so it had to be that day, I'm hosting the first event that I've done in a very long time, and it's such an intimate space. It's a room full of women who refuse to abandon themselves ever again. A room where power isn't performed, it's reclaimed. The event is She Rises, the experience. 22nd of January in Kingston, 11 till 4:30 p.m, just 15 spaces. So if you want one of them, click the link in the description and grab yours there. The early bird is still on until the 1st of January. Can't wait to see you there.